Environmental education is a process which is very useful to human beings in order to manage well their environment and instill the right behavior that serves as key to sustainable development. This module discussed the current environmental situation in the Philippines. Due to the pressures of population and technology, the biophysical environment is being degraded, sometimes permanently. This has been recognized, and governments have begun placing restraints on the activities that cause environmental degradation. Learning objectives. After completing this chapter, you should be able to understand and verbalize concepts and principles of environmental education. Value the importance of environmental education as a way of developing the youth to the good citizens. Explain why we need to protect our environment. Discuss the guiding principles in SOLID. Environmental protection is a practice of protecting the natural environment on individual, organizational, or governmental levels for the benefit of natural environment and humans. Since the 1960s, activities of environmental movements has created awareness of the various environmental issues. There is no agreement on the extent of the environmental impact of human activity, and protection measures are occasionally criticized. Discussion concerning environmental protection often focuses on the role of government, legislation, and law enforcement. However, in its broadest sense, environmental protection may be seen to be responsibility of all the people and not simply that of government. Decisions that impact the environment will ideally involve a broad range of stakeholders, including industry, indigenous groups, environmental groups, and community representatives. Gradually, environmental decision-making processes are evolving to reflect this broad base of stakeholders and are becoming more collaborative in many countries. Basic concepts and laws governing environmental education. Environmental education may best be defined as a process directing at creating awareness and understanding about environmental issues that leads to responsible individual and group actions. Successful environmental education focuses on processes that promote critical thinking, problem solving, and effective decision-making skills. Environmental education utilizes processes that involve students in observing, measuring, classifying, experimenting, and other data gathering techniques. These processes assist students in discussing, inferring, predicting, and interpreting data about environmental issues. Quality environmental education concentrates on the educational process. It is the non-biased and science-based environmental educators may consider themselves environmental advocates in their personal lives. However, in their role environmental educator, they must remain neutral. There is no room for personal beliefs to take center stage. It is important for environmental 78 educators to remember which role they are in when working with an audience. Environmental problems and issues are complex and there are not simple answers. Often there are many possible solutions or no obvious solution at all. It is through the processes of quality environmental education that students can sort through the frequently biased, emotional, and propagandized elements of environmental issues, weighing various sides of an issue in order to make informed balanced, responsible decisions. Related laws in promoting environmental education. Republic Act Number 9512 or Environmental Awareness and Education Act of 2008, an act to promote environmental awareness through environmental education and covers the integration of EE in the school curricula at all levels, be it public or private, including daycares, preschools, non-formal, technical, vocational, indigenous learning, and out-of-school youth courses or programs. Specifically, Section 2, Declaration of Policy states that, consistent with the policy of state to protect and advance the right of the people to a balanced and healthful ecology in accord with the rhythm and harmony of nature, and in recognition of the vital role of youth in nation building and the role of education to foster patriotism and nationalism, accelerate social progress, and promote total human liberation and development, the state shall promote national awareness on the role of natural resources in economic growth and the importance of environmental conservation and ecological balance towards sustained national development. Second, Republic Act Number 9003 or Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, an act providing for an ecological solid waste management program, creating the necessary institutional mechanism and incentives, declaring certain acts prohibited and providing penalties, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Third, Republic Act 9275 or the Philippine Clean Air Act of 2004, an act providing for a comprehensive water quality management and for other purposes. The Philippine Clean Water Act of 2004 aims to protect the country's water bodies from pollution from land-based sources, industries and commercial establishments, agriculture, and community household activities. It provides for a comprehensive and integrated strategy to prevent and minimize pollution through a multi-sectoral and participatory approach involving all the stakeholders. Fourth, Republic Act Number 8749 or otherwise known as the Philippine Clean Air Act of 1999, an act providing for a comprehensive air pollution control policy and for other purposes. The state shall promote and protect the global environment to attain sustainable development while recognizing the primary responsibility for local government units to deal with environmental problems. The state recognizes that the responsibility of cleaning the habitat and environment primarily area-based. The state also recognizes the principle that polluters must pay. Finally, the state recognizes that a clean and healthy environment is for the good for all and should therefore be the concern of all. Fifth, Republic Act Number 9147 or Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, an act providing for the conservation and protection of wildlife resources and their habitats, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. 6. RA number 9175 or Chainsaw Act of 2002, an act regulating the ownership, possession, sale, importation, and use of chainsaws, penalizing violations thereof and for other purposes. The seven environmental principles of nature, the key to understanding the environmental problems that we encounter today is to clean about our ecosystem. This section highlights the basic environmental principles, varied types of ecosystem, current environmental issues, anthropogenic activities that threat the environment, and the role of youth in protecting our environment. First, nature knows best. This principle is the most basic and in fact encompasses all the others. Humans have to understand nature and have to abide by the rules nature dictates. In essence, one must not go against the natural processes if one would to ensure the continuous and steady supply of resources. One natural process that needs serious attention is nutrient cycling. In nature, nutrients pass from the environment to the organisms and back to the environment. Any disruption in the cycle can bring about imbalance. For example, burning of farm waste instead of allowing them to decompose naturally disrupts the cycle in burning. Most of the organic compounds are lost. The combustion products bring greater havoc as in the case of carbon dioxide buildup, which result in the warming up of the earth or so-called greenhouse effect. Nature has also its burn-in mechanisms to maintain balance of homeostasis, the availability of nutrients, conduciveness of the environment for growth and reproduction, and the feeding relationship that exists between and among organisms which serve as population controls. For example, the rat population is controlled by the presence and number of its predators. Example snakes. The use of mechanical pesticides and fertilizer disrupts check and balance in the ecosystem. Pesticides can either kill vital organisms directly or induce genetic changes that result in resistant pests or organisms. Chemical fertilizers increase the acidity of the soil through time, making a number of nutrients available and thus unfit for the survival of plants and other organisms. History and other experiences are full of examples to prove the validity of this principle. In fact, this principle only surfaced when many of the detrimental effects of technology were recognized and coined thereon as ecological backlash. Second, all forms of life are important. Each organism plays a fundamental role in nature, since such occupationally or functional position, otherwise known as niche, cannot be simultaneously occupied by more than one species. It is apparent that all living things must be considered as invaluable in the maintenance of homeostasis in the ecosystem. It is easy to appreciate the beautiful butterflies, especially knowing their important role in the pollination. The giant beasts, the elephants, the whales, alligators are objects of awe and the products they yield ivory, oil, leather, respectively are highly prized. But when it comes to unlovely, wriggly, and troublesome creatures, this principle is unusually overlooked. For instance, it has been customary for many to step on any wriggling creature, example, earthworms, without even considering by why God made them in the first place. People also react adversely to the presence of snakes. At home, spiders are looked at with disdain. Awareness of the snake's role in limiting the rat population of the spider's role in checking the population of mosquitoes and flies may, however, change this attitude. Third, everything is connected to everything else. This principle is best exemplified by the concept of the ecosystem. In an ecosystem, all biotic and amniotic components interact with each other to ensure that the system is perpetuated. Any outside interference may result in an imbalance and the deterioration of the system. In a lake ecosystem, the organisms are linked to one another through their feeding habit. Levels are also dependent on other physico-chemical factors in the lake. Example, amount of nutrients. amount and types of gases, temperature, pH, etc. At the same time, the physico-chemical factors in the lake are influenced by terrestrial environment that surrounds it. The fertilizer that reached the lake caused a faster growth of phytoplankton, which may lead to algae bloom, red tide, or other such phenomena. This principle may be discussed in local, regional, or global perspective. Deforestation in the mountains may affect the lowlands through floods, drought, and erosion. Whatever happens to one country may affect other countries. An example of this Chernobyl accident, which affected a lot of countries through the transfer of radioactive substances by natural agents such as wind and water, as well as human activities like the export of contaminated food. Fourth, everything changes. It is said that the only permanent thing is change. As a general classification, change may be linear, cyclical, or random. An example of linear change is evolution of species, which has brought about higher and more complex types of organisms. Cyclical change may be exemplified by seasons and the rhythms in floral and faunal life stages that go with the seasons. An example of random change is the eruption of Mount Pinatubo, which brought about great upheaval in many parts of Luzon and changes in the topography of the land. The environment is constantly changing. Organisms also evolve through time. However, man's technology has affected these natural changes often to a problematic extent. Although mutation is natural change, pesticides have induced insect mutations which are not matched by natural checks and balances. Humans should rethink their relationship with the environment. Changes that they think may be beneficial to the environment often turn out to be disastrous. Environmental technologies should be given priority if man would want more positive changes in the environment. Fifth, everything must go somewhere. When a piece of paper is thrown away, it disappears from sight, but it does not cease to exist. It ends up elsewhere. Gases released in smokestacks may disperse, but it will end up a component of the atmosphere or brought down by rains. What a particular type of waste does to the Earth's repository should be of concern to us. It may be a pollutant or a resource depending on the certain factors. Since waste are not lost to oblivion and even goes back to one's own backyard in some other forms, it is important that one becomes aware of different types of waste, whether they are hazardous or not. Classification of waste facilitates their proper disposal and minimizes, if not prevents, the entry of toxic waste in vital ecosystems and ensures reconversion into useful forms. Sixth, ours is a finite Earth. The Earth's resources can be classified as either renewable or non-renewable. Renewable resources are those that can easily be replenished by natural cycles, example, water, air, plants, and animals, while non-renewable resources are those that cannot be replenished through natural cycles, example, ores of various metals, oil, coal. Although renewable resources can be replenished, it is important to note that these are renewable only as long as they are not overused or destroyed from such factors such as pollution. To ensure that these resources will be continually replenished, it is essential to know how much of a resource can be consumed at a given time to balance the rate of exploitation with the rate of replenishment. Just how long would the Earth be able to sustain demands on its resources? This is a question that needs serious reflection. Unless the factors of population growth, lifestyles, and polluting technologies are checked, the collapse of the Earth might be inevitable. Awareness of the Earth's limited resources leads to a conscious effort to change one's consumerist attitude as well as to develop processes and technology that would bring about effective recycling of a great number of resources. And last, not nature is beautiful and we are stewards of God's creation. Among all creatures, humans are the only ones made in God's image and have been given the right to have dominion over all His creations. Being the most intelligent and gifted with the reasons, humans are capable of manipulating creation to their own advantage. Yet, creation exists not to be ravaged or abused but to taken care of. Humans cannot exist without nature. They are co-natural with the environment they live in. If the environment they live is destroyed, with it will go Homo sapiens. This principle is inherent in all religious and tribal beliefs. Teachings of Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam enjoin every to respect all life and the order of nature. Words of Chief Cito Macliing Dilag and Chito Mendez point to our duty to discern the true of modern systems and techniques to reject those that degrade and promote those that elevate the human condition. Climate change. Climate change is a change in the usual weather found in a place. This could be a change in how much rain a place usually gets in a year, or it could be a change in a place usual temperature for a month or season. Climate change is also a change in Earth's climate. This could be a change in Earth's usual temperature, or it could be a change in where rain and snow usually fall on Earth. Weather can change in just a few hours. Climate takes hundreds or even millions of years to change. Climate change, also called global warming, refers to a rise in average surface temperature on Earth. An overwhelming scientific consensus maintains that climate change is due primarily to the human use of fossil fuels, which releases carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the air. The gases trap heat within the atmosphere, which can have a range of effects on ecosystems, including rising sea levels, severe weather events, and droughts that render landscapes more susceptible to wildfires. What are the causes of climate change? The primary cause of climate change is the burning of fossil fuels, such as oil and coal, which emits greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, primarily carbon dioxide. Other human activities such as agriculture and deforestation also contribute to the proliferation of greenhouse gases that cause climate change. What are the effects of climate change? Even small increases in Earth's temperature caused by climate change can have severe effects. The Earth's average temperature has gone up 1.4 Fahrenheit over the past century and is expected to rise at as much as 11.5 Fahrenheit over the next. That might not seem like a lot, but the average temperature during the last ice age was about 4 Fahrenheit lower than it is today. Rising sea levels due to the melting of the polar ice caps, again caused by climate change, contribute to greater storm damage. Warming ocean temperatures are associated with the stronger and more frequent storms. Additional rainfall, particularly during severe weather events, leads to a flooding and other damage, an increase in the incidence and severity of wildfires threatens habitats, homes, and lives, and heat waves contribute to human deaths and other consequences. Ecological solid waste management. Definition of terms. Biodegradable. Any material that can be broken down by naturally occurring organisms such as bacteria and fungi in air, water, and soil. Compost. Decayed organic material for use as soil conditioner or fertilizer. Composting, bio, biological degradation under controlled conditions. Domestic waste, refuse from households as distinguished from industrial waste, agricultural waste, hospital waste, etc., which may be classified as biodegradable or non-biodegradable. Food materials include certain kinds of seeds, pulp, peelings, pickles, sweets or candies, or snacks. Non-biodegradable: any material that cannot be degraded or decomposed by naturally occurring organisms such as bacteria in air, water, and soil. Putrescible: a substance that decomposes at a certain temperature in contact with air and moisture, generally containing nitrogen. Recycling: the reuse, retrieval, recommission of element matter for any and all purposes necessary to healthful and productive living. The process by which waste materials are transformed into new products in such a manner that original products may lose their identity. Solid waste. Solid waste may be defined as all waste arising from human and animal activities that are solid and that are discarded as useless or unwanted. Others define waste simply as matter in the wrong place. This simple definition implies that a material becomes waste only when one ceases to have use of it. Republic Act 9003 or the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000 specifically refers to the following materials as solid waste: discarded household waste, commercial waste, non-hazardous institutional and industrial waste, street sweepings, construction debris, agricultural waste, and other non-hazardous, non-toxic solid waste. Classification of solid waste. Generally, there are only two kinds of solid waste: biodegradable or nabubulok and non-biodegradable or hindi nabubulok. This can further be classified into the following categories: A. Compostable or biodegradable. Kitchen waste, leftovers spoiled food, fruits, vegetable peelings, fish, fowl, cleanings, seeds, bones. Garden waste, leaves, branches, twigs, weeds, flowers, roots. Animal waste, manure, carcass. Human waste, soiled wipes, tissue papers, cotton swabs, excreta. Recyclable or non-biodegradable waste, metals, glasses, rubber, dry paper, cartoons, aluminum cans, styrofoam, cloth, dry processed fiber, dry leathers, feathers, hard shells, recyclable plastics, plastic containers, non-recyclable residual waste, sanitary napkins, disposable diapers, used worn-out rugs, polyvinyl chloride containers, ceramics, com- composite packaging, candy wrappers, sachets, containers made from multiple layers, special hazardous household waste, paints, thinners, batteries, spray canisters, tires, large worn-out household appliances such as refrigerators, washing machines, worn-out radios, stereos, and TV sets. The three R's of solid waste management. First, reduce, avoid wasteful consumption of goods. Begin by asking the question, do I really need it? In so doing, we minimize waste and conserve our natural resources. Conservation, like charity, begins at me. Key message: reduce the amount of non-necessary packaging and adopt practices that reduce waste toxicity. Second, reuse. Whenever practicable, reuse items that are still useful instead of just throwing them away. It would greatly help if we prioritize goods that are usable rather than throwaway types. Key message: consider reusable products. Maintain and repair durable products. Reuse bags, containers, and other items. Borrow, rent or share items used infrequently. And sell or donate goods instead of throwing them out. Third, recycle. Waste can be valuable resources. Items that are useless or a little value to someone who wants to dispose them are very often or significant value to others at another setting and or time. The process whereby portions of this waste are sorted out and used for something of benefit is called recycling. Key message: choose recyclable products and containers and recycle them. Select products made from recyclable materials. Compost, yarn, trimmings, food scraps, and other biodegradable waste. Do not burn. Two types of recycling. First, primary recycling. The material is made back to the original material. Example, newspaper to make a newsprint. Second, secondary recycling. Waste materials are made into different products which may or may not be recycled. Example is cardboard from waste newspaper. Guiding principles in solid waste management. Waste is resource. Waste prevention is better than waste regulation and control. There is no single management and technological approach to solid waste. An integrated solid waste management system will best achieve solid management goals. All elements of society are fundamentally responsible for solid waste management. Those who generate waste must bear the cost of its management and disposal. Integrated solid waste management should be approached within the context of resource conservation, environmental protection, and health sustainable development. Integrated solid waste management program should take into consideration the physical and socio-economic conditions of the concerned communities and be designed according to their specific needs. Ecological solid waste management ESWM or eco waste management. Ecological waste management refers to the systematic administration of activities which provide for segregation at source, segregated transportation, storage, transfer, processing, treatment, and disposal of solid waste and all other waste management activities which do not harm the environment. Approaches to ecological solid waste management. First, segregation of waste at source. All the members of the household must be informed how to segregate waste into compostable, non-recyclable, recyclable, and special or hazardous waste. Second, there must be a separate container for each type of waste. Segregated recyclables must be properly cleaned before storing them in their respective containers. Third, the use of special collection schedules and/or separate trucks or haulers must be required for specific types of waste. Fourth, recyclable waste materials should be taken to the Materials Recovery Facility or MRF in every barangay or cluster of barangays where they are received, sorted, processed in every barangay or cluster of barangays where they are received, sorted, processed, and stored efficiently and in environmentally sound manner, either in the backyard or and stored efficiently and the community composting site. Hazardous waste materials are further screened and sent to appropriate hazardous waste treatment and disposal plants. The residual waste or the non-recyclable and non-compostable waste shall be transferred to a long-term storage or disposal facility or sanitary landfill or processed into new and usable materials. Example, hollow blocks, culverts, flower pots, etc. Thank you very much.